All right, guys. So this is so we just hired a new lead manager in our business. So as I was putting this together, this is kind of some of the things we are doing in our business and some of the things we are looking to implement. And Nazelle from my team is also on the call. She's our integrated in our business. So it's a great training for her to watch and kind of help implement and hold our lead manager accountable. So I'll go through this and I'll show you how we manage some of these things in REsimpli, but I'll give an overview of what the process should look like for lead manager. And then you guys feel free to ask any questions or provide any feedback. More than happy to like improve it and see what we could be doing better. So this for us, the lead manager role basically starts once the purpose for us for lead manager is to make sure that every single lead is accounted for, that there is no lead in REsimpli that either doesn't have a drip on, or it doesn't have a task on, or either somebody's working on it manually if we think we're going to close on the next 30 to 60 days, or it's on some sort of a drip campaign. But the role starts once the incoming leads come in. So for us, we do a lot of direct mail, we do PPC, cold calling, and texting. So if you get any of those leads come in, or even if our cold caller is setting up an appointment, or somebody who's doing texting on our team and sets up an appointment, it still comes in as an incoming lead through web form. At that point, our lead manager basically goes in and sees, once the lead came in into our system, was the call answered? If it was not answered, the next thing for us is that we enable a drip automation. So what that does is, if it's a missed call, what we do is we just put them on. And I've also mentioned the names of the drip that we use, and this is in everybody's account. If you don't have access to REsimpli, please send us a message at support@REsimpli. We'll just email you kind of all these drips. But if you have REsimpli account, this is the exact drip campaign should be in your account. So this is what we use. So if it's a missed call, as soon as it's a missed call, it just goes on a long-term drip campaign. So drip campaign is called REsimpli drip, missed call, no name, no address. And then they just start getting, text messages from us and a reminder to call the lead back. So it's very simple. They get on an automated drip. And if the call is answered at that point, the role of the lead manager is to review the call details. So if the call is answered, we'll probably have their name and address. So at that point, what the lead manager is doing is lead manager is going to listen to the call recording and see, is the person interested in selling? A lot of calls that we get, people would say, hey, I received your direct mail, but I'm not interested in selling, or I've just sold the property, or for whatever reason, they're not interested. So if they're not interested in selling, we just move them to dead lead. But when we're moving them to dead lead, we still want to make sure we at least have their address for the property, so it integrates with our list stacking, and then we're not marketing them again if we've already if we're removing them from dead lead. But if somebody wants to be taken off our marketing list, they're pretty they give us their address when we tell them it should provide us your address, so we don't send you a direct mail piece again, because everything it kind of gets synced based on the property address. So again, that's an easy thing. If they're not interested in selling, they get moved to dead lead. If they are interested in selling their property, the next thing we want to see is, okay, do we have their address available? When they called in, did they provide us their address? If they did, the next thing the lead manager would do is run comms. And then one of the questions that we have in our lead intake form is we ask them for a mortgage amount. So if the seller provided a mortgage amount, then the question is, is the mortgage amount less than 80% of the ARV? So if it's no, so let's say if the house is worth, for easier numbers, 100,000, and the house has a mortgage of 90%, like $90,000 of mortgage on it, then for us it would be a referred to agent. So we're gonna refer it out to a listing opportunity to somebody, and then we would put them on an agent referred drip. All that does is it just a reminder for somebody on our team internally just to check on that lead, or check with that agent maybe once a month or once every other month, just to follow up and say, hey, did anything happen, just to make sure that if it's a listing opportunity, we're not we don't forget about it. It might be a small like $200, $500 referral check, but it all adds up. But it's a simple drip that we put them on, and then it just keeps reminding somebody on our team just to check with the agent. That's all it is. But if the mortgage is less than 80%, some people would use 70%, but for us, 80% is good, because in the area that we invest in, there's a lot of opportunity for us to add square footage by putting basement, by finishing the basement, so we can increase the value of the house. So that's why we go with 80%. But for some of you other guys, if you do not have that opportunity, then you might want to adjust that mortgage number. And then the next thing for us would be to call the lead back. So if the lead, the next time is, did the lead answer the phone? If the seller did not answer the phone, we put them simply on the REsimpli drip. We have their name and address, because at this point, if you have their name and address, we'll put them on this drip. If not, then there would be another drip, depending on whether we have. So there's 4 combinations of name and address. Either we have no name, no address, which would be this drip right here. And if we have talked to them, or if they called us, most of the time we will have their name and address, or we can, based on the phone number, we can pull up the in list stacking, we can match it with one of the records. So we'll fill up the name and address for that record. So we'll put them on, we have the name and address strip. If not, then the other combination would be, we might just have their name, no address, or we might just have the property address and no name. So depending on what combination we have, we'll put them on a drip. All that drip does is it sends them a text message, and if we have their address also available, then we also have steps to send direct mail to them, a couple of direct mails in between, because especially if initially they responded to the direct mail. So we want to make sure we use the opportunity of sending them direct mail. So it'll be text messages to them. It'll be a reminder for somebody on our team to call them. That would be the lead manager to call them, and also direct mail in between. So the goal here is to get in touch with the seller. The drip campaign initially would be in the first week or 2 weeks. We're trying to touch them like 5 or 6 times. Then we go every other week for 2 or 3 touches. Then we go at least once a month, again, with the intention of getting in touch with them. And then once we get in touch with them, once we get hold of the seller, the goal then is these lead qualification questions that a lead manager is asking. The questions are why are they looking to sell the property? Are they moving out of town? Did they lose their job? Are they tired landlord? Whatever their motivation is, that's the first thing we want to know. The second is, what's the condition of the house? Did they do any repairs or any updates to the property in the last couple of years, 2-3 years? If they have, then chances are if they put some money into the property, they are going to want a little bit more money, closer to market value. And then the third is, when are they looking to sell the property? Are they looking to sell the property next, 30 to 60 to 90 days? Or this is something, they want to sell in next year. They might not have any intention to sell right now. And how much are they looking to sell the property for? So, we want to try to ask them if they have a price in mind before we schedule an appointment, but they don't always do that. They might sometimes say, okay, you come out, make an offer. We just got a property under contract this week where the seller said, come out, look at the property, just do a walkthrough and make us an offer. And then, we want to find out about any other situation. Other situation would be, are they the final decision maker to sell the property? Are there any other siblings involved? Is the property occupied or vacant? Is it rented? And some other, I'll share the questions that we have. So once the lead manager is asking these questions, the next thing the lead manager is to is the lead qualified. For example, if their price is, let's say on $100,000 property, they say they're firm at $120,000, they're not gonna sell for less than $120,000, then the lead is not qualified right now. The next question would be, do we think we have a chance, for the lease to be qualified in future? That again, they might not want to sell right now. They might want to sell in a year. So they're probably going to be a qualified lead in a year. Then we put them on a REsimpli long-term drip, which it does is, like, depending on the motivation, it might either touch the lead once a month or once every 3 months. If not, if they say they're firm on 120,000, there's absolutely no wiggle room. for $100,000 property, then we just move them to dead lead. At this point, some people might put them on another drip and move them to warm lead, but for us, we just move them to dead lead. And then if the lead is qualified, this is for us the most important goal for a lead manager is to schedule as many appointments as they possibly can for the acquisition manager. I mean, if there's like one thing that we want the lead manager to do is to book as many qualified appointments as the lead manager possibly can for the acquisition manager. Again, if we are in a market like right now where we do not have too many leads coming in, it's a seller's market, then we change our qualification standard, then we would want our acquisition person to go on more appointments. Some of them might not be as qualified, but we still want to go and make an offer on the property. But if we have too many leads coming in, then our qualification would change. But the goal always for the lead manager is to schedule as many appointments as possible. So this for us is the most important role of lead manager, is to get as many qualified appointments as possible. For acquisition manager, so for us in our business, our acquisition manager only sees the lead once it gets into appointment set. Before appointment set, the lead manager is working on any lead that's no contact made or contact made. And once it gets to appointment set, that's when our acquisition manager gets involved. And these are the KPIs that we track. For us, we have about almost 2,000 leads that are in our warm leads pipeline. So the goal for lead manager is to call 50 leads per day. At the end of the day, they should have 0 pending tasks. Now the task might be related to call the lead, text the lead, send a handwritten thank you note. So all of those tasks should be 0 at the end of the day. There should not be any open lead. So open lead is any lead that has called you or texted you, or any new lead that you haven't either called back or texted back, or you haven't basically closed the lead saying, okay, the lead just wants to be taken off our marketing, and then so we're going to close the lead. So that number should always be 0. And internal inbox, which is internal messages that our team members would send to each other, should also be 0. It might be something I might go into the system and I might review a lead and say, even though the seller is asking too much, but their mortgage amount, let's say on $100,000 property, the seller might be asking 110,000, but their mortgage is only 50,000. So I might go in and ask my lead manager, let's just send an offer for 60,000. And then we'll move it to an offer made drip campaign, and then just leave it there to see if the lead is interested. Or I might create a task. But the goal for the lead manager would be to make sure they respond and attend to that messages. And then also there should not be any lead in our pipeline that's not on either on a drip or any lead that without a pending task. So those 2 numbers should be 0 unless it's a dead lead. So if it's an active lead that we're working on, then it should either be on a drip, or it should have some pending task, so somebody is actually accountable for it. Or if we move it to a warm lead, then it should have some drip campaign attached to it, or it should again have some pending task. And these are some estimated numbers based on people that I've talked to, whether they have a lead manager based in US or based in overseas, mostly in Philippines, what the pay range would be. Typically, you're paying somebody based in US $12 to $20 an hour, and then bonus would be depending on the market and how many deals you're doing, anywhere from $250 to $1,000 per closed transaction. And anybody in Philippines, you would be paying about $4 to $6 an hour, and plus about $50 to $150 per closed transaction. Again, this would vary based on the market you're in, how many deals you're doing, and how much involvement the lead manager would have in your business. So this is very high level overview. And then this is kind of what it would look like. So if we had a lead come into our pipeline, so if I go into my drip campaigns, this is a testing account. So the drip campaigns are a little bit different. So let's say this is my missed call drip. So if I go back here, if a lead came in and we missed the call, what I would do is I would put them on all my leads on, and I would automate the drip campaign, and I would put them on this missed call drip campaign. So what I would do is, let's say if I have a call come in my cold calling absentee list number, I would go into my drip automation and I would say if the lead comes in from an unanswered call, so if a lead is created through an unanswered call, it should automatically get put on a missed call drip. Or if it's coming through Zapier or Carrot integration, then you can put them on a different drip campaign. If it's coming through a web form, again, this is going to be an update that's coming out over this weekend. So you don't see this option, but I just want to go over it because it's coming this weekend. So you can, if you're pushing the lead from a web form, which a lot of you guys are doing through either it be through cold calling or SMS, then what you can do is you can have them on a different drip campaign we put on. But I would say this one is probably the most important one, is anytime a lead is created from an incoming unanswered call. So that's going to be a missed call or somebody leaves a voicemail and where you did not answer the call, I would put them on a missed call drip campaign. And then the system would start sending them a text message. So you could completely customize it. But we have the drip campaign, the name that I showed you, it's added in everybody's account. So again, this would be, hey, sorry, I missed your call. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. And then 2 minutes later, it triggers a task for, you can do it for the, I don't have a role of lead manager, but it would do for the lead manager, call the lead, and then it would just go through those steps and it would keep triggering those tasks for the person to call, and it would alternate between text messages and reminder to for the lead manager to call the lead. So once you get to this point, if they're not interested in selling, for us, it's a simple thing. We go into lead, let's say, this person, we made a contact, not interested in selling. We would just move them to dead lead and choose whatever the reason might be that we're selling. Like to dead lead, maybe they want too much for the house, title issues, or, property already sold, whatever the reason might be. And then after that, if you have address available, then it goes through, run the comps. Seller provides a mortgage amount. Yes, if the mortgage is less than, if it's more than the 80% of the ARV, again, on a $100,000 property, if the mortgage is like 90,000. So again, let's say if this were the case, what we might do is we might move it to reflect to agent status. And then, we might put that lead on a drip campaign. And then drip campaign might just be follow up with the agent every 4 to 6 weeks, just to see if anything happened with that, and if it should follow up about a referral check or something from the agent, and then call the lead back. If the lead did not answer, then we have a drip set up. All that does it's I think like a 18-month or 20-month long drip campaign. It just follows up with the lead by text messages, direct mail, and also reminds our team member to call, a lead manager to call and follow up with the lead with the intention of getting in touch with the lead and then moving it, to the appointment stage. And these are the questions that we are asking. Custom questions. So is the house currently listed with an agent? That's the first question. If it is, then we're not moving forward at that point. We don't do anything with a listed property. Some of you guys might do something with a listed property, but we don't. So for us, it's straight no. And why are you looking to sell the house? So that's where we want to know what's the reason. These can be completely customizable, but this is good for us to know kind of what's the real reason. Like right now, we're closing on a property today where the husband and wife are getting divorced, so we want to know what's the reason. And then this is about the condition of the property. What repairs have they done with the house in the last 2 years? Again, if they've done some repairs, if they've updated the bathroom, the kitchen, and done some other repairs, that tells us they probably would want more for the property versus if they hadn't done any repairs to the house. But we'll still go and look at the property. Sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times sellers tend to exaggerate for the repairs that they've done to the house. They always think their house looks the best in the neighborhood, but it's still good for us to know if they've actually done anything. And then, we want to know how soon are they looking to sell. If it's something, as soon as possible, or sometime in the next few months, or they're just going to get the right offer, that also tells us, how qualified the lead is. And then we want to know if they have a price in mind. Then this is where they're asking if the house is occupied or vacant, how much is the mortgage on the house, and if they've received any past due notice from the lenders. And then this is where we want to know, are you the decision maker on the sale of the house, or are there other family members involved? They'll need to agree on the decision. We have one house that we're trying to make an offer on where there are 14 siblings involved, 14 siblings that are on the deed of the property. So, that tells us it's going to be a little bit sticky deal to just negotiate, get approval of all the siblings. So, if it's again, if it's a very tight deal, we might not be as motivated versus, working with the 14 siblings. And if it's a really good spread on the property, then that changes kind of, how motivated we would be on that property. And then this is where we want to make sure all of these numbers every day at the end of the day is zero. Like there should not be any task due for anyone. So I can go into somebody else's account and then I can see, okay, there are 4 tasks for this person. I can click and see, all right, these 4 tasks. Then the conversation would be on a daily huddle for the lead manager. Okay, why do we have these 4 tasks that are still pending? Is there anything that the lead manager needs from somebody else, whether it be acquisition manager or somebody else on the team, whether it might be me, where we're buying a house for about 480,000 today, and that's the most expensive house. So, typically we buy a house for about 150, 200, 250,000. But this house that we're closing on today for 480,000 with ARV of 700,000, that's the most expensive house. So that's where I'll get a little bit more involved. So there might be some tasks or some notes for me to kind of look into the lead and see if, just double check and make sure. But for us, the goal is that all of these numbers, the open, any task to you should be zero, any open lead should be zero, and any internal inbox should be zero. So again, these might be messages for the team member that hasn't replied to, and then we want to go in and say, hey, you haven't replied to the message. Is there any leads, and is there anything I can help you with that you're not sure about? And then again, open leads are any leads that either are new leads or the lead called back or texted back that we haven't replied to. Let's say this is an offer made where the seller called back and just said, and I'm okay with the price, I want to move forward. So we'll move it to under contract, and then we'll just remove the open badge to make sure it doesn't show up in our open count anymore. So it went down from 14 to 13 now. So that's the goal every day. At the end of the day, this number, all of these numbers should be zero. And then we want to go in and we want to look at the call logs. And then filter it by our lead manager to see how many basically calls were made. So if I go in yesterday and I can select for a specific user, and I can say, for example, outgoing calls, it's not going to show any, so it's going to show zero, but we can go in and we can see how many calls were made. And then I can listen to the call recordings if there were any, just to kind of see how the conversation is going, how the sellers are responding to what we're asking, or anything else that we might have, about any interesting deals that we might have going on. So this is what our process looks like for lead manager. And I'm curious kind of what you guys are doing. If any of you guys have any questions or thoughts or suggestions, I would love to you hear you guys' feedback, or just kind of what you guys think of what we're doing in our business.
Yeah, I just had a quick question.
Sure.
I'm a little bit new to the side, but let's say that you're cold calling on a person, right? And the person answers, he's not fully convinced yet, right? But you import it into the you import it as a lead, right?
Correct.
How are we able to treat that kind of like as an in between? The person's not fully convinced, the person's not fully ready to go, they're not fully motivated, but they want to hear a proposition, let's say, on how much you're willing to spend on them, etc., or on the property. How would you treat them, bringing them in as from a cold call? Would you pass them on to a lead manager, or would you schedule them like per se on a callback?
Yeah, we would definitely pass them on to a lead manager. Again, it a lot depends on the market also. If we had this fortunate problem of that we had too many leads, then we would have our cold caller qualify the leads, but we don't have that problem right now, right? I would imagine most of the people on this call, they don't have enough leads. So at that point, we're a little bit lenient with our qualification standards. So we want more leads to come in, and then we let our lead manager qualify the lead. So let's say if a lead came in, at this point, right? So what we do is when we're pushing a lead so we use Mojo Dialer. When we're pushing a lead from Mojo Dialer through Zapier integration, the calls are being recorded in Mojo. So what we would do is we would actually download the call recording and upload into REsimpli, right? So we would upload it as a file. So let's say if this is one of my leads that came in through Mojo, right? So what I would do is I would go in, and then my integrator Nazelle, who's on the call, what she would do is she would create a folder. She might call it, call recording or something. So call recording. And then this is where we would upload the call recording from Mojo into REsimpli. And then it creates a task for my lead manager to listen to the call recording, right? If we have the call recording, we always want to listen to the call recording just to make sure, there might be something subtle that the homeowner said. So it's important for the lead manager to listen to that and just kind of pick up on the tone of the homeowner, if there's like some sort of desperation on the call. But yeah, so if right now what we are doing is if anybody's saying they're interested, we move them as a lead, right? If they say I'm interested, then we leave it up on to our lead manager to qualify the lead. And at that point, see if, we should set up an appointment. And then if my lead manager is not sure, then she's going to push that lead over to my acquisition manager and say, hey, can you look into it and see, I'm not sure how to handle that. And that sort of becomes, a coaching opportunity for our team on, okay, if next time if something like this happens, this is how we should be handling. But yeah, right now, what I would do is if you have anybody on cold calling that says, I am interested, I would push that as a lead. And then just make sure you make, either if you're going on appointment, then go on appointment, make an offer, right? I mean, you can only get a property in the contract if you make an offer. So it does not ever hurt to make an offer. The worst that's going to happen is the seller is going to say, no, that's okay. I mean, the first property I ever bought was listed on the market was 65. I made an offer of 20,000, and I think I bought it for like 22,500 or 25,000. My thought process with the worst that's going to happen is seller will say no, that's okay. But my goal is, like our team's goal is to control the things that we cannot control. We cannot control who's going to sign the offer. The only thing we can control is make an offer that we believe, we can close on. And whether the seller accepts or not, at least they have something in writing, whether we send it through e-sign or if my lead acquisition manager is there, she's going to, give them a physical offer. But the goal is to give them an offer at the end of the day, right? So gotcha. Again, the goal for us would be like we're moving the lead from left to right, right? So we can get it up to this point, like we can control up to this more or less. But once we get into offer made, if the seller is not interested, then we move it into, we make an offer, then we put it on a drip campaign, offer made, either the seller disappears or whatnot, then we move it to a warm lead. And then it would just keep sending automated text messages, and it would remind my lead manager to call and follow up. And then when my lead manager comes in, then this is going to be one of the daily tasks for her to follow up on this lead. So she would click here to make sure that all the tasks are zero, because the tasks are now being triggered automatically. So we might have, once a month, call this lead. So now if we have 1,000 leads that she needs to call back on, so every day there's like 20, 30 tasks popping up for her to call back on. And then Nazelle from my team, who's the integrator, she'll go in, make sure that everybody's task is zero, everybody's open leads is zero, everybody's like messages at the end of the day.
So going back on that, just to be a little bit clear. So on that lead, let's say that you import, right? Right. Just to put, you would pretty much start them as a cold lead, right? And then you would walk them up to being able to make the offer. I believe my follow-up question was how are we able to put them kind of on the same kind of drip or the text messaging and following up with the text message, then we're able to market on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let me do this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you like some of the drips that we use. Let me go into a different account.
Sebastian, Sharad, just so this is my lead manager. I have some, and he just came on board. I've already have these drip campaigns set up, Sebastian, so I could just show you this.
Okay.
We already have them. We already have them set up, so I'll just show you how to put them on. But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah. So yeah, these would be the drip campaigns. Essentially, the goal of these drips is to get in touch with the seller, right? Yep. That's the thing that you're looking to do. Is your goal is to get in touch with the seller, and then to see, hey, is it worth spending more time and effort on this seller to move them along the pipeline or not?
Right.
It's not like we don't want to keep them in let's say, an appointment made stage for a long time if they're not qualified, right? If they're absolutely dead set on a house that they want 150,000 for, but the house is only worth 100, and for whatever reason they want 150, they are not going to budge, we will still make an offer for a price that works for, and then put them on a drip. They could say no, take me off the list at that point, but at least our goal is our goal is to control the activities that we can control. So it might be a drip, like let's say we make an offer, we can't reach them. So this is the drip already built in REsimpli. And then we would just put them on, it would just start sending these text messages, and it's built out for 2 days later from the time you put in, send this estimate. Then it will remind, the owner. So default it's owner, but you can change it to whoever you want in the team, call the lead. Then 4 days later, another text, then another task. And then it would do, every month it's following up with that lead. So you can make it as aggressive or kind of as, like easy that you want, depending on how good the lead is. Okay.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
Hey,
all right.
Hey, Sharad, do you throw leads that are on a drip? Do you leave them where they are, or do you like throw them over to like warm leads or something for everybody on a drip so they're not taking up space?
Yeah, so any lead, so the way we look at active leads like this is any lead that we think we have some sort of opportunity to close in next, let's say 30 to 60, max 90 days, I would leave it in my active leads. Anything beyond that, I would move it to a warm lead, because I'm not I don't want to take up this space. This space should be for leads that I'm actively working on. It might be something when I'm doing a call with our team internally, like we start from right to left. So I would see anything that, we don't really wholesale much. So we close on everything. So we won't really have anything assigned to buy. We would go through, okay, everything that's under contract, is everything on track? Is the title clear? Any issues that we need to talk about, right? Then we would come into, okay, let's say we have these properties here. Let me go back here. So these are the properties that we made offers on. So we'll go through this. We'll say, okay, this is the property we made offer on. Where does it stand right now? Do we need to do anything with this? If the acquisition manager says no, I think we should move it to dead lead. I walked through this property, absolutely not worth buying it. Then we would move it to dead lead. Or she might say, this is a good property. I made an offer, but the seller disappeared, which happened this week with us. So simple thing we'll do is put them on a drip campaign. The drip campaign might be offer made, can't reach. And then just put them on that drip. And then at that point, I would take it out of my my active lead, and I would move it to warm lead, because it's still going to remind whoever needs to take an action on it through their dashboard. So at the end of the day, this should be zero for everybody on the team. As long as all of these numbers are zero, there's going to be zero lead that will ever fall through the crack. So let's say you might even have something in a dead lead, which has happened with us. You might have something in a dead lead. We don't even have it on a drip campaign, but all of a sudden the lead might pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm actually ready to sell my house. Even though we don't have it on a drip, it's going to pop up here as an open lead because they called us now. So then again, for us, we'll just click here. We'll see, oh, there's actually a lead, a dead lead that called us back. So we'll go in and see, oh, this person actually called us back and now they're interested. So at that point, we would move them back into, let's say, contact make or whatever stage we need to move them back on. So if for everybody in the team, all of these should be, as long as you make sure this is zero every day for every person in the team, there's going to be absolutely zero lead that's ever falling through the crack. So that's the most important thing I would make sure of. So that's like Nazelle on my team, my integrator. That's the most important thing she does this. At the end of the day, she sends me a summary of, okay, how many people had tasked you? How many people are open leads? How many people had any unread messages? And then on our daily huddle, we go through and see, hey, we had 10 open tasks. Why did they not get completed? Then my acquisition manager say, hey, those are automated tasks. I don't think we should do that anymore. We used to do it before. We should not do it. So then we'll just take some action on it at that point. And then this way they don't keep happening every day.
So Sharad, with moving leads to warm leads, let's say it was with my acquisitions manager and they move it to a warm lead because it's not moving anywhere. And
right.
then they put them on a drip campaign. But then I also have my lead manager who was working on some leads and he moved some to warm leads. what's the definitive marker that says, hey, this is a lead manager lead and this is a acquisition manager lead? Is it just with the tasks that are set up in our drip campaign?
Yeah, it's basically tasks that are, so the acquisition manager should be working on, like, the goal of the lead manager should be to warm up the leads for the acquisition manager, right? So once the lead has gone cold on you, then you're putting it to warm lead for the lead manager to warm up the lead. But if it's, let's say, if it's a lead that we have where, we think we could make $50,000 wholesaling, we're not going to move it to warm lead, then we would have it for our acquisition manager to work on it. Even if it comes down to like knocking on their door and say, hey, we just want to make sure you received that offer and if you had any follow-up question. But if it's something, like a deal where the seller completely disappeared and then it's not like one of those home run deals, then I would move it back to put it on a drip, move it to warm lead, and then your lead manager is warming up that lead for your acquisition manager to work on.
Got it. Okay. Appreciate it.
Again, it's like there's no set rules for it. This is like very subjective on, like you might have the same person in your company doing both lead manager and acquisition manager roles. But, if you start, I think I made a video on it like some time ago, like 6 weeks ago, kind of what the roles of your company should be. So when you're starting out, like you're going to be the owner, you're going to be the integrator, you're going to be the marketing department, you're going to be the sales, you're going to be the disposition. But if you start thinking yourself as like one person, but you're sitting in multiple seats, then as your business grows, then you can think about, okay, I love doing, let's say you might say, I love doing the marketing part of the business, but I don't necessarily enjoy the lead manager part of it. But if you have, even when you're setting up your account, like if you have added yourself as the owner, the lead manager, the acquisition manager, the disposition manager, so when you're ready to like hand off that role to somebody, then you just have to hand off the disposition man or like the lead manager part of it, right? And then you can still continue doing the marketing activities, the acquisition, like you might love going on appointments, but you might not like talking to the sellers and getting those people to book, schedule an appointment. Then you can hand that off to the lead manager.
And so when your lead manager books an appointment for your acquisitions manager, it stays an appointment set. And either way, that's going to move until, are your guys closing on the phone? Or are they going in person?
No, we go in person. Yeah.
They're all going in person. Okay. So they'll have an answer by the end of that. If they're like, hey, I can't give you an answer right now, do you just move them back to a contact made and you work on those, or do you move it to a warm lead? Let's say you give them an offer. Yeah.
If we made an appointment, right? Then if we've actually gone on an appointment, then the next thing would be we make an offer, right? Mm-hmm. But if we make an appointment and let's say they disappear on us and they don't show up on an appointment, then I think we have rescheduled missed appointment.
Okay.
So then we would put them on that. So there's always going to be like all these different situations that are going to happen with your business. So these are the drips that we've added in recently based on like the most common situations. Like if you look at this, like recently, for example, recently drip, we have the name and address, long-term tip, no name, no address. But there's going to be some situations where you have the name, but no address. Then there's going to be some situations you have the address, no name. So we're going to create those two drips like we actually just created in our business today. And, those are like different situations that you have. But yeah, once we go on an appointment, if we actually go on an appointment, then the next step is to make an offer on the property.
Got it.
And then, yeah. So then the goal would always be that we're moving the leads from left to right. And if it reaches some sort of a dead end, that we made an offer, but we cannot move it to an account, then we'll move it to a warm lead and put it on a drip. So when we come up here, you guys don't have it in your account, but it should be coming this weekend. So if I go here, if I do lead without any pending task, this should be like everything except dead lead should not have anything. Like, so this tells me I have 9 leads sitting in no contact made that do not have any tasks that are assigned to anybody. That means like nobody's working on them. Right. Yeah. So then that tells me, okay, like I would go in and see, all right, is it on a drip? It's not on a drip, right? Then this would be a question for my lead manager. And Nazelle would have a question for my lead manager. Hey, why do we have these leads sitting in no contact made, there's no task assigned, there's no drip assigned, that means like nobody's working on it. This is like a lead just sitting there, nothing is happening. Right. So like for us, only the dead leads should be the leads that nobody is working on, because like once we moved it to dead, we basically either the property sold or the seller is not interested, just completely wants to be taken off the marketing list, we will move it to dead lead. But everything else, like it's either it should have a drip on it or it should have a task assigned to it. So then, you know, I can say, yeah, go ahead.
That seems like a pretty important thing to check. Is that something that we could set up like an automated report or like a fast filter that says, you know, we just click this, you know, it's just dead leads rather than click filter this, that, and the other in order to
yeah, we are going to be adding some like preset filters. So we're rolling out preset filters in list stacking. So something like this, like you go and then you just do like, if you're doing a direct mail, you can just do those. So those filters are going to be added to leads also, but like these are some new filters that we're adding. So once we go live with these and we test it out, make sure everything is working as expected, then we'll add those preset. Like for example, you know, we're going to have some preset filters for hot leads. So you can just click a button, it just shows you only the hot leads. So I can see right here that this is a hot lead, but we're going to add a preset for hot leads, leads without any pending tasks, leads without any drips on them. So those will be just by click of a button, you will be able to see. And we're also going to be adding those to dashboards.
Sure. Quick question, and I know this isn't a KPI call, but whenever you move a lead into appointment set, let's say in 1 week, you move them from no contact made, appointment set, and then offers made, then you go track your KPIs. When you click on your KPIs, is it going to show that, you know, and because we're pulling the reports every week, is it going to show that the same lead was moved to appointment set and then moved to offer made and then under contract, or is it just going to show up in one of those categories for KPIs?
No, it will show up in all of them. So if I see this, like this tells me I had 21 leads that came in, 3 appointments and 12 offers. So that means like there were 9 leads that I made offers on. I did not go on an appointment. So if I click here, it will also include the 3 from here.
Okay,
so
cool.
This number, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so this number, like once you move it from offer made to under contract, it's still going to keep the count in offer made. So you can see all the properties that you made offers on, and then you can see like this one I made offer on, but it's sold now. So if you move it out of offer made, it'll still keep a log of it. So you can anytime run a report, and then you can also filter it by different team members. So if you want to do just for, you know, Tony Stark, then you can just see all the leads that he's assigned to. And the same thing is going to happen, you know, with the update this weekend on the list. So you can see the same thing based on the different lists that you have. How many people did I have in my absentee list? How many of those have sent direct mail, cold call, SMS, RDM? How many of those were converted into leads? How many of those did I go on appointment? How many offered? So you can also keep track of your KPIs based on the list, and then you can filter for that specific list also. So if you want to go in and see, all right, everybody that's on my absentee list, for example, and it is a lead. So I can see lead should be yes. So I can see, all right, these are the 8 people that are in my absentee list that were lead for me at some point. So now this is a no contact made, appointment set, offer made. So if I go, like, it's going to match with this number 8 right here. So that gives you another level of KPI for you to track, you know, so you might say, okay, you know, which list is actually working best for me in my business. Okay.
Wow, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Any other questions? Or let me actually go some questions.
Hey, Sharad.
Yep.
Sharad. Looking through your how you're making your decisions and walking through your lead tracking, when it said, you know, that you're running comp at the point where you run comps, like what are you like, what systems are you using, or suggestions you make as far as being able to do that effectively?
We use MLS. So I have somebody on my team that's a licensed agent. So, you know, we definitely use MLS. I mean, there's nothing going to be better than MLS.
Right.
But if not, we recently just added this, I mean, we've started using this more and more. So I don't know if you noticed, but we've added this button, right? So if you click, it's basically searching the property in Google. So I can see, how much is it worth on the Zillow. So this is like worth 111. Then then I can go into the next, I can see, how much is it worth based on Redfin, like 51. So, this would be just to do a very quick pre-qualification, just like a very, very basic number on, Zillow says that this is worth 111,000. I mean, that's what a lot of people are going to use, like homeowners when they're calling,
Sure.
because they're Googling their property. So we can say, all right, if this person wants, let's say 50,000 for the property and this estimate is 111, that gives us a little bit information on that property, how much rent we can get. But eventually we would want to do MLS comps for us to make an offer. Again, most of the properties, we wholesale a few properties, but most of the ones that we're closing on, and we do like big rehab, like $50,000, $60,000 rehab. So when we're making an offer on a property, those are almost always contingent on our contractor walking through. But this would be a very quick check. By clicking here, it's going to give you some pretty good information. Like you'll have, I would say 80-90% assurance on, confidence on what you think the property would be worth. And then you can, in some areas, it's going to be more accurate versus others, but at least like you'll have 80-90% confidence on the property, hey, if it's worth moving forward or not. And then if you click, if it's listed on MLS, it's going to pop up right away with an MLS number. So you can just like, disqualify that lead and just move on to the next one.
Where did you click that? And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's every property that has an address, it's the first icon next to it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So if it doesn't have an address, it's not going to have that icon. So if I go into this, it's not going to have that icon. But if I go into one that actually has a property address, you just click and it's just basically searching for that property on Google.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, let me look at the other questions. And Tom, yeah, the flowchart is shareable. I will post it on our Facebook mastermind, and then I'll also email it to everybody with the recording. Can you show the drop-down option of why are you selling the house again? Okay, so these are the questions, and these are customizable, but these are the ones that we've added. I think these are default set for everybody in their account. But if not, like these are the ones that, would meet most of the criteria that we have for why somebody's wanting to sell the property. And Jay has a question. Do you hire lead manager from US or Philippines? Our lead manager and acquisition manager are based in US in Indiana. That's where we do our investing in Northwest Indiana, right outside of Chicago. So if any of you guys have any wholesale deals in Northwest Indiana, we're always looking to buy. So please send it over to me. But our lead manager is based in Indiana. She lives locally. And so does our acquisition manager. And the range that I showed you for the pricing, so she's pretty much right in the middle of what she gets paid for that. My integrator, Nizelle, who's on this call, she's based in Philippines. And then we have 3 other people based in Philippines. And my project manager, she's also local in Indiana. Leah has a question. How can I measure a lead manager's activity day after day? Where can I see how many tasks are being completed each day to see what kind of volume is being done? So Leah, there's a couple of things you can do. As far as the, the KPIs, the first thing I would do is make sure like this is 0 for the lead manager or any person on your team at the end of the day. And if you want to see the task completed, then you can go right here and you can filter this. You can filter this by any person on your team and then run a report, and it'll run a report based on how many are pending or how many are completed for that person. But for me, like if there's one thing that is important for us is like these should be 0, because then this means like everything is being captured in our calling, any leads that's coming in. And then you can run the report right here going into call logs. Either you can do into call logs to see how many calls they made, So if their goal is to make 50 calls per day, then you can just on a daily basis kind of check right here on how many calls they made for that person. You can do that, or you can actually also do on the dashboard right here on calls and SMS. So it shows for each individual. So if I go into Tony, it will show me the numbers for Tony right here. So I can see over the last 7 days, there are no calls or SMS made in last 7 days.
And is that specific to Tony? Not because we assign multiple team members to a lead. Is this just Tony's actions?
Yeah, this is just Tony's action, because like in this account, in my testing account, Tony and Sharad are on every single lead. But this, if you notice here, like I made 2 calls and this shows my call results. So if I go into Tony, it doesn't show anything for Tony. So it's all 0.
But then
So all
open
of-
leads
Yeah,
are both 13.
Yeah, open leads are 13 for both of them, because you might have multiple people be working on that lead, but the actual activity is for that specific individual. Okay. Okay, did you still have the question of cold, warm, and hot leads about qualify? What way? Like the way we do that is any lead that we think we're going to be able to close in next 30 to 60 day really would stay in our active lead. So out of like 7,000 leads, I would say we have about 80 to 100 that are on our actual active leads, and then 4,500 to 5,000 are dead leads, and then another 2,000 are warm leads. So warm lead would be anything that we don't think we're going to be able to close in next 60 to 90 days max. We would put it on a warm lead, and then if we don't think we're going to close, we'll just move it to a dead lead for us.
Hey, Sharad.
Hey, Benjamin.
So with those warm leads that you just spoke about, so those are all on like a drip campaign or something, or is somebody actively working those?
They should be on some sort of a drip campaign. And drip campaign would, your drip campaign would also have tasks assigned to them, right? So if I go into, let's say I move it into my long-term drip. So it might start out with sending a text message, but then, a day after that, there's a task assigned to somebody. So even if you put it on an active lead or you put it on a warm lead, that task is still going to pop up for that person. Now, if it's on a long term, you don't really want to have it on your active leads because you're not actively working on it, but it's still going to pop up as an actual task for the person to complete. So when, let's say, the lead manager shows up, for the day, this number is going to go from 4 to 5. And then when lead manager clicks on it, they'll see all the tasks. Or with the new update that we're rolling out, they can just do, all right, I want to see all the tasks that are with pending tasks, and then they're assigned to me with a past year due today. Then it's going to just only show the leads that actually have a pending task, and then I need to do something with those. So then what I can do is I can just click right here. Either I can go into the task and I can see, all right, what I need to do, or I can just click on the dialer, and the dialer is actually going to show the task that I need to do.
Gotcha.
So I can, like, most of the tasks are going to be call related, call the lead. So let's say if this was a call related task, I could click call lead, I could mark it completed, and then go on to the next one. So it will jump from one stage of your pipeline to the next. So then I'll go into the next, then we'll keep going from one to the next. So now it's moved on to the appointment set. So I can just see, I can keep my dialer open, and I can see, all right, if I need to run MLS comp, I can run my MLS comp, and then I can just mark it completed. And then let's say if I need to call my contractor, I can call my contractor and then mark it completed. And then I can go to my next task that I have for the lead.
Okay, and I had one more question real quick. I came on late, so you may have already talked about it. If we're wanting the inbound calls to come in live, do you think the best route would be just having it routed to a smartphone number or something?
Yeah, for now. So the incoming answering is going to come at the end of April with another update. So you'll be able to basically, it's going to pop up in the system with who's calling, and it's going to look up that phone number in the leads and also in lead stacking. So if it's a new lead that's calling, it's going to say, hey, you have a call coming in from, address 123 Main Street, and it's going to say it's not a lead, but it is this address. It's on 3 different lists for you. So when you're talking, you already have a lot of information, and then you can just click call and then just talk to the person and then click a button and move it to a lead.
Got you. That's perfect. One less
Yeah, so-
subscription.
Yeah.
So let
yeah,
me
we're-
ask you,
Yeah.
Sharad,
Go
my
ahead.
bad. I just wanted to ask, so now let's say on the task spending, is that on a queue as well? Like, is that on a time basis of when it was last set up? You know what I mean? Like, would it remind the acquisitions, or I'm sorry, the lead manager, would it remind them, you know, in what order those people were in? Or would it just be by the last time that they were updated, or the last time that somebody had put input on their profile?
In these, sorry, which task are you talking about?
I'm talking about, like, let's say on the contacts made, or
Right.
you know, no contacts made. Is that on? Does that show, like, per se? Oh, I guess that's answering my question right now, where it shows in the pipeline. But I guess, does that update each profile, let's say, or each address? Does it update by the last time somebody put something on their profile or change
Yeah.
something on their profile, or does that just, or does it remind you by the time that it was created? You know what I mean?
So this is sorted based on the last time you touched them. So,
Okay.
so you can sort it by, if you want to see the recently updated leads on top, or, you know, recently updated leads on bottom. So, you can filter it based on, you know, sort it based on whatever criteria
But it
you
doesn't
want.
update, let's say, you know, such, you know, let's say each address is created on a different day, or a different hour, or different time period of the day. Does it doesn't go in line, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't fall back in line of when it was first created. It just shows you last time it was updated.
Yeah, not based on the created date. I mean, you can see the pipeline days is from the time it was created. It shows you how long it's been in the pipeline for. So this one, I can see it's in my pipeline for 34 days. That means from the time it was created to the time now, it's been 34 days. But when you're sorting it, it's sorting it based on the last time you made an edit to the lead, like last action, any action that you performed in that lead.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you had a question about follow-up question. How would you put it on a similar drip system?
That
Is
was
that-
me, but you
okay.
already answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. And Percival, you had a question. Hey, don't know if you are going over this, but how can I set up the call features? Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by setting up the call features? Do you mean like how to like call flow? Is that what you mean? I'm not sure if you're on the call or not. But yeah, if you want to send us an email at support@REsimpli, I can have somebody from my team. Don, can you please make sure I'm going to copy the name. It's PERCIVAL, last name ESDAILE. If you can reach out and follow up kind of what question they had about, you know, putting somebody on call features. Okay.
Yes,
Cameron,
Sharad.
thanks, John. And Cameron, this is going to be added to, we're doing our testing. So this new status is going to be added, should be added over the weekend to everybody's account referred to agent. So you don't have it. This is a testing account. So you don't have it in your account right now, but this should be added over the weekend. This status should be added.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. And Jasmine, let me see. Deleting. So Jasmine has a question. Is there a way for us to delete, for example, 10 buyers at the same time, or do I need to delete? So Jasmine, you can go into your buyers, select whichever buyers you want to delete, just select, and then in the action, if you do select items, and then in the action, just do delete, and it's going to delete only the ones that you want to delete. So if you do delete these, so it's only going to delete the 10 that you have. So you don't have to delete one at a time. The leads you have to delete one at a time, but the buyers you can bulk delete them.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Wanted to join today. Thank you again for your help getting set up and our account switched over. Is there Facebook group? Yeah, Matt, this Facebook group. So we have two Facebook group. One is for paid users, which is called REsimpli FP group. And then the mastermind group is free for anybody to join, whether they are using REsimpli or not. It's for anybody to join. It's more like business related things. Next week, hopefully my acquisition person is feeling well, so I'm going to have her on the call and just go over some sales calls, just break down some sales calls, kind of what we're doing in our business, what's working, what's not working. But yeah, so you can join. The REsimpli Facebook group is only for paid users, but the other one is for anybody to join. And if you guys want to invite anybody, please feel free to do that also. Yeah, Rocco, that's actually a great idea. Yeah, so I'll make a note of that for my team to like add those KPIs in the dashboard maybe, so you can see how many leads do you have without any pending task. And Rocco, if you have any other suggestions on the KPIs for acquisition manager, let me know, and then I can work with my team on that. Kim has a question. Will you explain how the list stacking functionality works and what is the add-on cost for that? So Kim, we are going to be doing a call next week on that. It'll be separate from our weekly mastermind because we're adding a lot of new things to list stacking. So it's going to be a pretty detailed call with a bunch of other things that are going to be added. So we'll do a call for that next week and go into more detail.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. William, you have a question. When importing a list from another CRM, do you have to manually opt in phone numbers or does it do it automatically? So when you're importing leads from another system, we recommend that you tie that each of the lead with a campaign. So if you want to put it on a drip campaign, you can do that. All of your leads would be tied in to a specific campaign. You can do it to different campaigns if you want, different phone numbers. But if you manually want to do that, that's totally fine also. It's really up to you. But we recommend, if you know what campaigns they came from, that you tie it to a campaign. And then you can just, it'll save you a lot of steps. But we have some investors, they prefer to do it, it also helps them clean up if they want to go in, depending on how many leads they have, and then individually assign it to a campaign. Benjamin, we're not able to delete a property in inventory because the reason, so Benjamin has a question, if we're able to delete a property in the inventory, not from, we can delete it for you, but we don't have the option right here because for us, the inventory it's a property that you've actually closed on. So then it stays in that, then, there would be no reason for it to be deleted. But if you've accidentally moved something, which we notice and people do when we initially start with the system. So if you want us to delete something, let us know. We can do that for you. Don, if you can reach out to, I don't think he's on the call. Don, if you can reach out to Benjamin and let him know, that would be great. And I'll send you the link, but if you go to Google and just do REsimpli FB group, I think it should come up, but this is the group right here. It's called like facebook.com/groups/REsimpli, but here is the group. I'll put it in the, yeah, this is for a paid user. So yeah, if you click on it, I'll let you join in. Oh, Trish had already sent it. Thank you, Trish. William, do you want to explain the question? If you want to unmute yourself and explain the question just to make sure
Okay. Now, so my question is, so I have a list from another CRM that I'm currently using, and I've been trying a third party. I was trying another CRM. And when I import, I have to opt in all my leads to their phone number for the A to P compliance, right? So I got over 1,000 leads. I can't do that manually. Is that process also manual in your system, or is that automatic?
A to P. I don't think we've had any issues with. Yeah, if you've already registered your numbers, like, are you saying for 10 DLC?
Or yeah, let's say I got all my Twilio numbers that I'm using right now.
Right.
And now, so I have those phone numbers. I'm going to leave them in Twilio. I got seller leads that have phone numbers, right? I like to have them in a drip campaign. They're not in your CRM as of this moment. So now I'm going to go ahead and import them into your system. When I import them in your system, does it automatically have them opt in, or do I got to manually opt in each lead in your system so that I can send text messages?
No, they are opted in to the system. we check our like spam reports. So we have very few messages that get blocked by our provider. So you can also you can go into the call logs and also like run a report just to see which messages are getting delivered or not. Actually, when you go in, it should show you on each of the messages whether it did get delivered or not. So it tells you, but we look at that data also on a regular basis because we want to make sure, we don't have people that are sending a whole bunch of messages, as spam. So yeah, you don't have to do that.
And I totally agree with you because the last two companies I've been looking at are your competitors, and they require me to manually opt them in. And I got to outsource that process or have a VA. My VAs are too busy to be doing that. So that's why I asked. My intention is not to use the platform as a spam system, as a SMS blast. I'll use something else.
Yeah, no, we don't. Yeah, we will not allow them. I mean, we've shut down like a couple of accounts because that's how people were using it. So that's not how we want to. But you don't have to opt that in again.
So let me ask you one more question related to that. So do I have to register? So if I get any new numbers from you, do I have to register it to A to P, or you do that for us?
We'll do that for you guys.
You do that, okay? And is there an additional cost? Because I know Twilio adds another $15 a month to the account. Would you guys be doing that too? Which is fine. It's a cost of doing business, but
no. So there is a cost, but it's not $15 a month. I'll find out how much the cost is, but we don't do any markup on it. And I know it's less than $15 a month. So it's a lot less than that, but we just pass on that cost that our provider is charging us over to the end customer that's using it. But it's not $15 a month. Yeah. I believe it's $5. Yeah. But again, with that whole 10 DLC, there's a lot that's been changing and has gotten delayed. So nothing has been like finalized. Like we are registering all the phone numbers, but there's like very few messages that actually get blocked by the carrier as spam.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and then we do a quarterly call with our provider also just to make sure that are we using the system for the user agreement, that we're not like we don't have anybody that's like abusing the system and it may end up affecting other people. So yeah, we keep an eye on that also. All right, let me see if there's any other questions. No, this was a great call, guys. Thank you so much for all the questions. Does anybody have any other questions or any thoughts or any feedback on anything?
Thank you, Sharad.
Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me also put the other Facebook group that we have that's open for anybody. Here, this one. So if you're not part of the group, or if you want anybody that would get value from it, they can join that group for free. You don't have to be a REsimpli user. And then once this recording is processed, I'll email it out to everybody, and I'll also put it on our Facebook group with the copy of the flowchart that I had. But if you guys have any questions or anything, please let me know. You can email us at support@resimpli.com. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you guys on the next call. Thank you.